The state of Florida is sort of infamously has the worst unemployment compensation system in the country for workers. And yet here we are, Florida lawmakers trying to make it even worse for workers. They're doing it claiming they're trying to stamp out fraud and abuse while ignoring obvious big ticket fraud by big companies like Universal Studios. We'll tell you more about that in just a sec. Hello, and welcome to Seeking Rents, the podcast. I'm your host, Jason Garcia. I am the publisher of Seeking Rents. That's a newsletter in Florida about state politics, but with a particular emphasis on the ways that big businesses and other special interests influence public policy in this state. This is going to be a daily update from day 15 of the Florida Legislature's 2025 legislative session. That's a 60-day legislative session, which means we are officially already a quarter of the way through this year's legislative session. We're just going to race through a couple of bills today. The first one I want to flag is House Bill 1157, which is yet another attempt to make it harder to obtain unemployment insurance in Florida. Basically, this is a bill that would do a few things, but primarily, it would give the state and businesses more ways to disqualify workers from receiving unemployment insurance, a benefit to which they should be entitled, by the way. These are for workers who lose jobs through no fault of their own. The one of the main things in there is it invents a new reason to kick people off unemployment benefit if they miss a few job interviews while they're on unemployment. For anybody that reads our newsletter or listens to this podcast, it will not surprise you to learn that this is not some organic idea to Florida. There's not some problem in Florida that this is trying to adjust. This is actually an idea that's being pushed around the country by one of those right-wing billionaire-funded think tanks, in this case, the Foundation for Government Accountability, which has been pushing this. They call it ghosting legislation in states all over the place. And it is just designed to put even more red tape and even more obstacles and find more excuses to stop workers from getting the benefits they are entitled to. This bill is maddening for a couple of reasons. And the first is that it is part of what is now a 15-year-long effort by groups like the FGA, but also the big business lobby and groups like the Florida Chamber of Commerce to make Florida the worst unemployment system in the nation for workers. Florida pays some of the very lowest benefits to workers of any state in the country. But even more than that, it makes it virtually impossible. It makes it incredibly difficult to qualify for benefits and then keep them. And then it kicks you off more faster than almost any other state in the country as well. This is entirely designed because a bunch of businesses hate the fact that they pay taxes that fund this system, and they try to keep those taxes as low as possible, and they do it by reducing the amount of support workers get. It is just a disgusting approach to governance, and Florida keeps going down this path. And every year they're coming back and trying to ratchet this thing even tighter and screw over more and more workers out of unemployment, which again is a benefit to which they are entitled. The other thing that's maddening about this is that you get whenever there's an unemployment bill like this, you get a bunch of sanctimonious testimony from Republican legislators who support it about how they're trying to go after the bad actors and all the fraud and abuse in unemployment without ever throwing a shred of evidence about fraud and abuse. And at the same time, these are the same people that are willfully ignoring real fraud and abuse that they could address, but they refuse not to because it would hurt some of their campaign contributors. And I'm going to give you just one example about this. This is another thing. If you've watched this podcast or listened to it before, you've probably heard me rant about. If you want to find an example of public money abuse in Florida, look at Universal Studios, the giant theme park. Florida has a tax break on the books that was supposed to help impoverished city neighborhoods. It's literally called the Urban High Crime Tax Credit. And this was supposed to help these primarily historically black communities draw investment and revitalize neighborhoods, these places that have just suffered chronic neglect over the years and underinvestment. Instead, this program has just become a permanent subsidy for Universal. Universal has taken millions of dollars out of this program over the years. The last time I checked, which was about a year ago, over the last 10 years, 75 cents of every dollar paid out through this urban high crime tax break went to Universal Studios or the hotel joint venture it has with Lowe's Hotels. And this is not a secret. I have been writing about this for more than a decade now. Legislators in both parties are well aware of this, and they refuse to do anything about it. Well, they scream about workers claiming they're trying to defraud a system out of to get like a $50 a week payment for a few weeks. They look the other way when Universal takes millions out of this program that's supposed to be helping poor communities. And, why don't they do it? It might have something to do with the fact that Universal gives so many Florida legislators hundreds of thousands of dollars of free shit every year. Universal hosts a big annual pre-session fundraiser for the Republican Party where it gives literally hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free hotels, free theme park tickets, free meals and stuff to legislators who bring their families and come mingle with lobbyists for a bit of pre-session fun. All the while, allegedly they're in a high crime district. They just don't know about it because Universal's cashing all that money. If you really cared about fraud and abuse, if you really cared about saving taxpayers money in a meaningful way, this tax break would have been eliminated years ago, and they won't touch it. But of course, they go after workers any single way they can. I don't mean to rant too hard, but anytime one of these unemployment bills comes around, it is just infuriating because of the fact that like I said, it's just this sanctimonious, disingenuous testimony from a bunch of Republicans who support these policies who just are willfully ignorant about real abuse. Okay, let's move on to another bill. I should say House Bill 1157 went through the House Housing, Agriculture, and Tourism Committee on a 13-4 vote. So this bill is moving. Again, this same bill was around last year, so the fact that it's back suggests this could be a big push. The Senate version has not moved yet, but that could happen virtually any day at this point. The other bill I really wanted to zero in on this today is House Bill 1255, which went through the Student Academic Success House subcommittee in the House. This is a big like a big K through 12 education package. Sometimes it's got like just a bunch of different issues in it. Except there's one provision in particular that's really worth flagging, and it's another one of those examples of where the Florida legislature will find all sorts of interesting places to slip in culture wars and anti-abortion stuff. There's a provision in this bill that would require, and I'm gonna try and read it here, that would require schools to show kids starting in 6th grade a couple of things. They're calling it embryology, teach embryology, but they would have to be show kids a high quality computer generated rendering, animation, video, or other multimedia of at least 3 minutes in duration, showing and describing the process of fertilization and various stages of human development inside the uterus, noting significant markers in cell growth and organ development. Now, why is that interesting? That's because this is designed to force school districts to show a video called Baby Olivia, this computer-generated video of a medically inaccurate video of a fetus that has been produced by an anti-abortion group called Live Action. And it is trying to get this, what is literally anti-abortion propaganda, added to the actual public school curriculum in Republican states around the country. We have seen this all over the country. And what was interesting about this debate in particular is all the Republicans on this committee, I shouldn't say all, but a number of the Republicans, including the bill sponsor, a rep by the name of Dana Trabulsi, I think is how you say it, I believe she's a Republican from Fort Pierce. They all kept trying to play dumb and pretending this had nothing to do with Baby Olivia. I think they kept saying, I'm looking at this bill, I don't see the name Baby Olivia anywhere in the bill, as if that's the key issue, right? Just to give you an idea of how much this has to do with Baby Olivia, the language in House Bill 1255 is virtually identical to a piece of legislation in the Kentucky legislature called House Bill 397. And you know what that bill's called? The Baby Olivia Act. It's also virtually identical to the language in House Bill 1180 in Arkansas. You know what that bill's called? The Baby Olivia Act too. And it is also virtually identical to House Bill 34 in Iowa, except that bill actually just puts Baby Olivia in there. It uses the exact same language as the Florida bill, but adds like comparable to Baby Olivia. At least Republicans in Iowa aren't trying to hide the ball here. It is just it's an example of where legislators are acting like constituents and everybody around them is fools. They're treating people with such disdain and astonishment in something like this. I think the technical term for what we saw happen with House Bill 1255 yesterday is pissing on people and telling them it's raining. So anyway, House Bill 1255 moved through, as I said, the Student Academic Success Subcommittee on a 15-2 vote. That means quite a few Democrats voted to put anti-abortion propaganda into public schools. That's Florida Democrats, man. That's an interesting species. Okay, last bill we'll say today, just because we are going to try and keep this pretty quick, is House Bill 651, also moved through the Housing, Agriculture, and Tourism Subcommittee. This is a bill we've talked about, I believe, the Senate version of this before. This is what they are calling the Florida Farm Bill. It's got a bunch of stupid stuff in it. It would prohibit communities from putting fluoride in their water supply, from making decisions about it, just totally tie their hands on it. The part that always sort of like chaps me about it is that it goes after plant-based food products. It contains essentially a bunch of anti-competitive provisions meant to support like the existing meat, dairy, and egg industries, stuff they've been lobbying for at the federal level for a long time, by essentially labeling restrictions that would stop, like soy milk from calling itself milk, or Impossible beef from calling itself meat, or using the word meat on the label. So it's just ridiculous, like anti-competitive. This is the sort of thing you would expect from legislators that hate free markets, instead of, which is really interesting, coming out of the Tallahassee and the Florida legislature, where everybody's always talking about how much they trust the private sector and how much they love free markets. The only reason I mentioned this again, too, is there was a little interesting detail. Apparently, someone asked this question. I had not been able to figure this answer out myself, just like Googling around, but apparently Florida would be the first state to pass this law for meat, poultry, poultry, and eggs, and only the second to do it for milk. And the way the law is written, it's not going to go into effect until, at least I think it's 11 states across the Southeast, and I think that's designed to like protect against some constitutional challenges with like interstate commerce and stuff. So you're trying to safe it off that. The net result is this bill's not going to do anything, at least on the attacks on plant-based stuff. And so a bill that doesn't do anything, unfortunately, sometimes that's the very best you can expect out of the best you can hope for out of the Florida legislature. So, okay, we're going to leave it there. We'll be back with at least one more this week. If you're watching or listening, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Maybe leave a review or comment if you can. Help spread the word about the show. And if you haven't already, think about signing up for subscriptions, seekingrentsfl.com. Subscriptions are free, but we do have options to voluntarily pay for subscriptions if you can afford one. Okay, we'll be back again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.